Previously on the Pokercast.
I mean, Adnan, I just want to believe that you wouldn't have folded to Miss Finland in that spot.
You're going to believe what you want to believe, but I'm just not the type of person that would ever fold there. You have to understand, my fold to 3-bet is 0.
This is a Global Tel-Link prepaid call from
Adnan Schwartz,
an inmate at the 2+2 forums.
I checked the cell tower records, and maybe it's just me, but there's no way that Adnan was playing on his iPad while driving his son to hockey practice and manages to make it all the way to Fantasyland. And then there's the question of Ross. What was he really trying to ask Donnie Stern? And why did he keep calling him Danny? I don't have the answers to these questions.
And did you not believe Sheldon Adelson when he said he would spend all of his resources to ban online poker? Did you not?
Two Plus Two is proud to bring you the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
This week on the Pokercast, poker and Twitch with Scott Ball. Now here they are, driving through the Best Buy parking lot looking for a payphone. Adam and Terrence!
Welcome, everybody, to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. Terrence joining us from Hong Kong once again. That's our homage to the fantastic podcast Serial from This American Life.
Hello? Yeah, Adam, I mean, we've been talking about the show. I guess we mentioned it at least twice in the last 2 weeks, and I think our listeners have been listening to it as well. It's the most popular podcast in the world by a long shot. I saw a graphic, actually, that was posted, and it was like the iTunes top 10 most downloaded episodes and podcasts, and 9 of the top 10 are just Serial episodes. It's the #1 podcast in like every English-speaking country. It's just this absolute juggernaut. It's insane, and like you said, it's because it's great. It's compelling. Did you listen to the most recent, the finale?
I have, yeah. I want to circle back to the witty intro quick before we talk about the finale. I don't know if you saw. It's, obviously we're rolling around looking for a payphone. But did you see Best Buy tweet out, "We've got everything you need for Christmas unless what you need is a payphone."
Hashtag Serial. Yeah, I think I saw you retweet it.
Yeah.
And then they deleted it, I think, because there was they thought, somebody out there said it was insensitive or whatever.
What?
But that's how big it is that like Best Buy is actually using it. Really, they should be the ones sponsoring the show because they get mentioned more than anybody on the show.
They do. This week in Bad Parenting, my son, who is 9, and I've listened to every episode with him. Like on our travels back and forth to hockey, he jumps in the car and he's like, "Dad, put Serial on. Where are we?" He wants to know where we are. Yeah, so
you got to get them started off on the good radio at a young age.
That's right. Yeah.
I went on a podcast downloading binge last night, and I was looking through the most popular lists, and guess who's listed as the second most popular in the other games section?
Second most popular in other games?
Yeah.
Lyman's podcast,
the 2+2 Pokercast.
Yeah, we'll get to that actually later. We got a little update on that.
Best other games ever.
Best other games. We got lots of 5-star reviews.
So I did listen to the last one, Terrence. I assume you have 2. Ross hasn't. He's on 6. I think he's marathoning right now. He'll get to there. But we're done with this season of Serial. There's going to be a season 2. Who killed Hay, Terrence?
Well, I mean, obviously more questions than answers. So, you've been thinking about this, and obviously we still have no idea. I think we talked last week that there's no way that you can be sending this guy to jail for life based on the evidence that we have, right? Whether he did it or not, whether your gut opinion. I think I saw a poll on Reddit, the Reddit subforum, like, do you think Adnan killed him? And it was like 46% yes and 54% no or something like that. So obviously it's divided, but you can't be 45-55 and send somebody to jail for the rest of their life, right? Like, you have to be like 99.999.
Yeah, and that brings up some stuff that the big takeaway from the podcast for me were a couple of issues that are really scary, and one of them I'm not sure if we talked about before, but you and I definitely talked about it off mic, and that was the fact that the jurors, and when they spent some time talking to the jurors, it was scary that these people were deciding on somebody if he should go away for life or not. They just don't take into consideration a lot of the stuff. You talk about a Reddit poll, and I'd take 12 random Redditors over that jury any day.
Oh, for sure, because, I mean, the people who would go on a forum, think about it, they're actually interested, they care, they're going to dive into all the pieces, they're going to try to trace together phone calls. I mean, I've never done jury duty, but my understanding is it's pretty fucking boring, because you're just sitting there listening to people talk for like 5 hours, and they're arguing over these superficial little things. I don't blame people
Objection.
for, like, zoning. Yeah. I don't blame people for like zoning out and not paying attention to the fact, like, and they just end up spinning their own narratives. Like, yeah, I think this guy who was really broken up over, his breakup with his girlfriend. So yeah, he did it. Like they just kind of create their own narratives and not really listen to the evidence. And it's a really serious problem that you could send. And this kid, like, even if Adnan did do it, he was like 17 years old, and basically like barely able to kind of defend himself at a trial, right? Like pretty much. And we had the, in our intro, we kind of made fun of the lawyer who's like possibly the most obnoxious person on the planet. Yeah. It seems like she screwed up there too. And there's no real recourse when your lawyer screws up.
Yeah, and they started off saying that maybe she threw the case on purpose so she could make money in the appeal. Who knows? The other big issue that I had that troubled me, and maybe even more than the jury issue, was it came out in this week's finale of Serial, and that was the fact that Dawn, who was, for those, I imagine the people who haven't listened to Serial are just rolling their eyes right now, but Dawn was Hayes,
all five of them.
Yeah, Dawn was Hayes' next boyfriend that she'd moved on to, and they talked to Dawn finally, and he said that the prosecutor in both trials, remember there was 2 trials, one was a mistrial, the prosecutor yelled and screamed at him when all he did was, bring the best of his recollection of what his conversation was like with Adnan. And for him to go snaky on this guy because he didn't make him sound evil enough, just, the prosecutor should just be concerned about presenting the evidence and not trying to shape it as
how it works. Like
right, but of course maybe I'm naive, whatever, but that's an institutional problem right there.
Yeah, the problem is, I guess, the whole legal system is set up to be, it's kind of like a sporting event, right? Where it's like this team is trying to win by manipulating the rules, whatever, and the other team's trying to do it this way. It's as opposed to like an actual search for the truth, an actual search, and we talk, circling back to the people on Reddit, like, yeah, if you just go through all of the evidence that Sarah Koenig presents, I would be okay with like Sarah Koenig just arbitrarily deciding whether it was a joke, because she actually spent, like, she's dedicated a year to her life on this. She's like got staff and other people, like, but really, you've got the police, and the prosecution are trying to win on their side. The defense is trying to win on their side. It just becomes this game, and who's better at the game? Imagine if we would never think of like deciding to send people like who to send to jail based on the outcome of like a football game or a baseball game or something. But that's functionally what, like, in some aspects, the legal system is. It's like who's better at playing this game and getting the evidence that they want presented in court, and the testimony of these people and all these plea deals and all this kind of stuff. So, oh boy,
crazy.
It's interesting, but that's why it's such a fascinating case, and I guess that's why people are captivated by this thing.
They are, and looking forward to season 2 next year. It's, this one took a year to put together, so it's not like they're going to just be able to start season 2 next week. But check it out if you haven't. The whole podcast community is talking about the show. I can't believe something like this hasn't happened before, but it has now.
Well, I think This American Life has done like shorter stories of similar type.
They have indeed.
Absolutely.
We've used up all the time for non-poker discussion. I wanted to talk quickly about the interview movie that got shelved because of all the North Korea stuff.
We have a time allocation for
no, it's a poker show, so we better get to some poker stuff at some point. But for just to talk about the interview for a sec, go to read Brad Willis's blog. He has, in my opinion, an excellent summation of exactly what the key issue that people should be looking at. But anyway,
Brad Willis, RapidEyeReality.com.
Rapid Eye Reality.
best known, Brad Willis, of course, as the guy who founded the Pokerstars blog.
Yeah.
I think he's still involved with it. I think he's in more of a kind of senior position, and he's got groups of minions doing his bidding on the blogging. But I remember he started the Pokerstars blog way back around the second PCA, I think, was the original PokerStars blog. And I remember one of the most famous boo-boos that he made was he allowed open commenting.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. So I think he realized that this was a mistake. Old school people will remember. You must remember Genocide, right?
Of
Jennifer
course,
Lee.
yeah.
Yeah, for those who don't know, she was one of the kind of original poker babes in the early 2000s. Very, very pretty blonde. I think she ended up posing in Playboy, trying to make it as a poker pro. And he did a feature on her. And you have an open comment section with a bunch of sexually frustrated poker players and a good-looking blonde chick who plays poker. And, well, you could say that was a recipe for
that was
disaster.
a bad idea.
That was probably the last PokerStars blog post that had open comments.
So, a lot of places are cutting off comments now. You don't see. It's just like a lot of mainstream websites that post content day in day out don't have comments open anymore, and it's a shame. But also, do you ever read? I don't read comments very often.
Yeah, on Facebook they do.
Yeah, especially. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you have to tie it to a Facebook account or a Google account, which at least I think adds a little bit, when there's a real name behind it.
Sure.
But we don't on the Pokercast. You can come on the Pokercast forum and say whatever you want. So do that. When's the last time you're a mod there? When's the last time you deleted something that wasn't spam off of the Pokercast forum?
I don't know that I do it all the time in NVG because there's a lot of misogyny and stuff that goes on with.
Yeah, but on the Pokercast forum.
But in the Pokercast forum, I don't think I might have edited a post to take out personal information or something, but I don't ever remember deleting.
But somebody who just says you suck and you should
that's
die.
fine. Yeah, dude, go ahead.
Yeah,
exactly.
We've got come to the forum and say whatever you want about us.
Indeed. So tonight on the Pokercast, we have Scott Ball. He is not Pete Schwetty's brother. This is Scott Ball. He actually,
that's awful.
We've been talking about Twitch for a while, and he is involved with Twitch, bringing poker streaming to Twitch. I believe Twitch has retained his services to help develop the poker end of Twitch. And this week, Terrence, we had an interesting Twitch poker confluence, I guess is what you'd call it.
Interesting to say the least.
It was. So let's get right to it. In case you missed it this week, there was a player called Sticky Rice 1 who started playing on Bovada one night. He started playing. I guess he'd run his roll up previous to this. This is a Warcraft player, I believe, who's got a pretty big following on Twitch. He started playing. He deposited some money in Bovada and ran it up a little bit, and he jumped into the 10-20 no limit games. And this guy was as entertaining as hell. Now, you can say what you want about the guy. He's pretty, in one spot, he takes a real bad beat later on and calls up a hooker, and he's talking to her on the phone. He's not a great human, it doesn't sound like, but he's pretty entertaining the way he thinks about poker and the way he verbalizes stuff. And he's jumping into the biggest game on Bovada and then 10-20 no limit hold'em with no real clue how to play no limit hold'em.
Right. I think the key is he certainly doesn't speak the reg speak, because when you say he has an interesting way of talking about poker, he basically says things that make absolutely no sense. He doesn't know what 3-bet or 4-bet means, because he's I'm going to stop 3-betting this guy and instead I'm going to start 4-betting him was sort of one of the classic things to say, because I don't think he understands what those terms mean. He's just heard them before.
He counts outs on his fingers. You can see him hold up his hands. He goes, okay, I've got this many outs. And then he had pocket fives on a queen 9-9 board, and he didn't know what played, and then he said 2-pair. Your kicker doesn't play on Bovada with 2-pair, but it does on stars or something. He was doing all kinds of saying it clearly didn't understand or hadn't played a lot of hole. He takes dance breaks after winning a pot. I guess he's a former boy band guy, but he jumps up and starts breaking into dancing. That was pretty funny. So it's sort of this phenomenon of people following him. There was this thread in NVG, and it's got 2,000 posts, and everybody would be tuning in watching this guy because he's getting it in horrible and sucking out.
Right.
He would get giant stacks in with underpairs and spike on the river, and he ran his stack up to 40,000. I think it went from 4,000 to 40,000 in one night, and or thereabouts. He won a ton, and And then
mostly just getting it in terrible.
But he doesn't believe that, right? He thinks he's playing great.
The explanations, I think, are the best part, because when he tries to explain his thought processes, that's what's really makes sense. And that's why I always thought, and we talked about this when it was happening, like my biggest pet peeve is when pros at live poker tables like speak in these terms and speak strategically, and we've talked about it so much, like don't tap on the aquarium, don't talk about strategy on the table. Like this guy is, I think, like the perfect example of why you don't do that, because he's heard these terms, he clearly doesn't understand what any of them mean, and so yet this is exactly the kind of guy that you would want in your big game, like a guy who's like calling, just chasing with 8-9 on a king-6 board. Like this is exactly what you want in your game. So, when people use all this fancy terminology at the table, it just makes me it makes me barf. Like,
yeah, that king-6 board on the flop, and he chases a couple of backdoor draws with 8-9, got there. It was fantastic. Yeah, he stacked the guy off, but. Yeah, no, you're right. I agree. And about Twitch, you have that chat, component on the right-hand side of the feed. So a lot of course, the 2+2ers are in there and some other people, and they're telling him, how bad he's playing or, whatever. That kind of stuff was cringeworthy for sure, because you want to watch this guy just,
Did he react to? Because I didn't see all of the fallout from it. But did he react to the people who were talking shit about him? I mean, he must have realized at some point his viewer count was just through the roof, and it came from all these poker guys.
Yeah, you would think he would have found the thread. I don't really know if he ever did. He didn't post in it, as far as I saw. So I don't know if they pointed him towards it, or he was reacting to it. But like you said, he really doesn't know what they're saying. When they talk about some of those things. But of course, he wants to pretend like he knows. So. That's where the comedy came from. I mean, he just was talking and trying to talk in poker speak without really understanding, and his thumb presses throughout hands was also pretty funny as well. And so if there's some videos, if you want to go to NVG, go to the thread, the Sticky Rice thread, and check it out. If you scroll through,
it's only like a few days old, and it's like 2,000 posts long already, and it's like this thread is like 3 days old or something like that.
Exactly. Some people did record it and post it. I don't think they have the audio. He's been banned a couple of times from Twitch for unknown reasons, but people did record the video and uploaded it. So if you want to have a good laugh, go check out this guy, because
sometimes it's just great to watch.
He's not going to have his bankroll too long. I think he dusted off more than half of it in the last. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but or I just did, I guess. But he's still got some left. I don't know if he's playing tonight or not. But he of course, he's not going to run like the sun, night after night. So that wasn't a big shock that he was going to dust some of it off.
And if you're a Bovada reg, get it while you can.
Yeah, jump on it. Well, that's it. So that's the other thing. So at Bovada, you have anonymous tables.
That's right.
You have people on, trying to find his table, get involved and figure out who's who, because they get to watch the stream on a 5-minute delay. They can watch the action that's going on at the table. They can jump in the 10-20 tables and try and, sit down with this guy. So, it's this question of, is 5 minutes enough of a buffer? Do you need an hour? Or what? I mean, is there a buffer that's big enough? Or do you just go, what? That's what happens in poker. You talk about bum hunting, whatever. This is sort of the predatory environment. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't really feel like you really need to see the whole cards to know when somebody's playing this bad, like this level of bad at the table, because they're always going to showdown. They're always turning over like garbage hands. So if you're paying even like the slightest bit of attention to your table, you would realize that he's terrible. But I think when you do get to see the whole cards of every hand, it really puts a punctuation on just how terrible the plays are. And I think that's what's really driving people towards the stream, is that they can see hand after hand after hand. Because a lot of times you're at the table and we've all been at the table and told our friend about, oh my God, we were in this game and this guy was so terrible, and there was this hand where he called with like threes on a 2-paired board, and he didn't know what he had and all this kind of, and you tell these stories. But this is actually seeing it with the whole cards in real time is something that I don't think has ever happened before. All we've ever seen before is like pros who are really good at poker streaming videos.
Yeah, what a huge boon to Bovada. I mean, here you've got thousands and thousands of people watching this guy.
Best free advertising. Yeah.
Absolute best free advertising you can imagine. People, of course, were saying, oh, Bovada's rigging it for this guy so he wins and people will come play. But if you went back the next day, there was people talking about the fact that Bovada had like doubled its traffic in a day, or there was, maybe not double, but there was a big spike in traffic at Bovada for this. And this is sort of this new. Is it a new technology, a new poker boom, a new way to bring poker to people? Is it going to bring gamers over? Like, can you imagine the gamers that are out there that have millions of followers? I know my son sits and watches people playing Minecraft, and these guys on these YouTube channels have millions of subscribers. There's this market of, hopefully they're not my son's age because he's 9. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's this huge base of gamers out there that maybe some of the online poker sites are going to look at now and go, wait, we need to get this guy streaming poker and bringing people to our site.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, whether this is sort of the future of poker content. And obviously, guys like Jason Somerville, also Nano Noko, have tried to create this, to generate content in this way. And maybe, as poker, everybody's always worried the poker pool is shrinking, We don't really know whether it's true or not, or to what extent it's true, at least. And if this is a way of driving new people to the game, because there are definitely people who seem to watch these streams who don't know the first thing about poker, and whether even Jason Somerville's, I think most of them are poker people, but some of them are not. With this guy, clearly the majority of the audience, at least pre-2+2, would have been non-poker players. So this is the way of getting. We're always looking for ways to get recreational players in it. This is just one of many possible avenues to go down.
Indeed. So we're going to talk to Scott a little bit later from Twitch, or he's involved with Twitch. He's going to give us the rundown. I'm sure it's been a crazy week for him with all this sticky rice stuff going on. Maybe he can give us a sort of a take from Twitch's side of exactly how that week went down. In case you missed it, Pokerstars has started showing all-in equity. When people get all their money in the middle, just like on TV, when you watch a tournament or a cash game on TV, people get all in. You're going to see the equities in front of their hands. Well, you can see that now on PokerStars. This has been on other sites for a long time. Stars hasn't done it until now. Some players aren't real happy about this. Terrence, what's your take on Stars showing the all-in equity?
I saw, I think the first person I saw tweet about this was Timex, and he just said, like, oh, Amaya's giving another fuck you to players. And I was like, whoa, that's not my reaction at all. I actually had a conversation with Isai about this, and Lee Jones as well. I think it was back in like 2002, 2003, whether this was a good idea. And I don't remember exactly why we elected not to do this at the time. But you remember back in the early days, people were thinking, oh, it's so... it's if we showed it to them, maybe they wouldn't realize, like, a lot of times when you get it in as a 75-25 favorite, you might think you're a bigger favorite than you are. So if we gave them the real information and they take a bad beat, they'll realize it's not really as bad a beat as they think. That was sort of our thinking on it.
There'll be less emails to support, is what you're saying.
Yeah, like it would legitimize it in some way. There'd be less people posting on forums, less emails to support. People would actually realize. I think to some extent that sort of overestimates people's not intelligence, but it overestimates their ability to accurately, kind of intuitively assess all-in percentage. Because if you see like a 9% next to your opponent's name, you remember the one time that it happens more than the 11 times it doesn't. So anyway, we ended up scrapping that idea, but it's funny that it would come full circle around 12 years later. And again, this is another thing that I don't think has very much to do with Amaya. I think this is software things like this generally take a while. I don't think it's a huge deal. I think it's interesting. Like I didn't even think of the TV poker angle, but you're absolutely right. It's obviously on TV they'll show it at every point in the hand, and they can't do that here. They'll only show it when there's no more betting to be done, and I think it's fine. And I think if anything, your average recreational player probably thinks that a bad beat is worse than it is. Like if you asked like the average recreational, not very good player, what the chances of losing with, say, ace 10 against aces is, I mean, they might tell you it's like 2%. Like sometimes you just hear like ridiculous numbers. Like what's the chance of a gut shot beating a set? They might tell you that it's like 8%, right? Like it's not it's I don't think it actually hurts regular players in any way at all. If anything, I think it actually maybe would make some of the recreational players feel a little bit better about when they do get bad beat. But I'm not sure. I'm no psychologist.
Yeah, nor am I. I just don't know that. Here's anytime you narrow the gap of you got people that are multi-tabling with HUDs, playing against casual players who don't have HUDs, who are playing one table, trying to have some fun. I mean, yeah, this is a stereotypical sort of player, pro versus rec, but if the recreational guy, if you're giving him some of the information that this guy with a HUD has, and let's face it, it's very little information. It's not a giant. You're not giving him fold a 3-bet or anything like that. So I think it's this sort of little teeny bit of information that makes the recreational feel maybe that we're a little more even at this point or something. It just doesn't seem to me like it's a bad thing. I think if you're going to narrow the information gap between the multi-tabling guy with the HUD and the recreational player, I don't think that's bad.
Well, I think somebody in that thread, the thread in NVG that talked about it, like just hit it pretty much nail on the head. Was like LOL at all the regs who use HUDs to determine fold the 3-bet and PFR and all of this kind of stuff, complaining that somebody is going to find out that they're a 44-56 dog, like when all the money goes.
Totally,
in. Like
yeah.
it is totally LOL. Like it's just it's so hypocritical for anybody who uses a HUD, and I don't think it's unethical to use a HUD at all. I'm certainly not on that side, because I think as an online poker player, you have the right to use kind of any legal advantage that isn't that isn't functionally cheating, and it's all publicly available information. It's ridiculous to say that we need, it's horrible to tell a fish when he's getting it in bad. The one thing I think I saw Chicago Joey talk about that in PLO, maybe there are some fishy players who don't realize how bad they are getting it in, because is really, really hard to know PLO percentages, like when all the money usually goes in on the flop, really, really hard for them to be able to calculate all the draws and the redraws, especially in the period of time it takes to for the computer to deal 2 cards like that. That all happens really quickly. You kind of always think about, what are the outs that I have in PLO? Like, I could have hit any of these. And then, but you've got the redraws that the other guy has on the other side. So it's really hard to distill all of that into like a percent number. And this will probably help close that gap a little bit in PLO.
Yeah, I think there's so many more levels to it in PLO, though, versus no limit hold'em. You've got I've got a straight draw against a set, and I might make it this often, but he's going to fill or whatever, and now I'm going to call bet. Like, there's just I guess it's all in. They're only when they're all in, but still, I think that I don't know that it's a big difference either way. It seems to me like it's people complaining over sort of this little piece of information. I don't know. I personally like to see HUDs banned, but I don't in a perfect world. Because I don't. If I had my perfect world of poker, everybody would be on the same same level, that would have the same amount of information to be able to play against each other. I know that's not going to happen.
Right.
So, like live poker, where we all have to remember things, we have to, there's no, et cetera. I'd like to have that online. I know that's not going to happen, so I'm not, saying that.
Other than anonymous tables. I mean, the only way that the sites have figured out so far how to completely get rid of HUDs is anonymous tables.
Yeah,
pretty much,
and that's a different discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
But the big issue about this is that Pokerstars has made a mistake. It seems like with the script, because it's showing incorrect percentages. If you go through the thread on in NVG, you'll see screenshots and examples of hands where Pokerstars got the percentages wrong. That's a pretty big deal. I don't think.
Yeah, that is really big. Are they counting like the whole cards that the PokerStars server knows, and that they're taking those into, because that could be a thing. Like, for example, if like you've got like 3s against Ace King, but the server knows that the 3s were both folded pre-flop, or that certain aces or kings are folded pre-flop. and it's accounting for that. That would be really bad too, because that's basically making information public that's not public.
That
right?
shouldn't be. First of all, they shouldn't be taking, like you said.
No, of course not.
There's no way they should be doing it. But even if you look at some of the examples in that thread, there are people who have figured out that that's not happening, because even if you take out this card and this card, if they're unknown, it's still incorrect. So there's some sort of mistake going on with the script. Hopefully they are on their way to fixing that, because I think that's a pretty big deal that
is definitely
the Pokerstars got that wrong. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Hopefully we're going to talk to Matthew Hilger later. I don't know that he's up to speed with it. It's not his department. But we'll ask him to see if he's talked to anybody about that.
Sounds good.
In case you missed it, the ABC OFC, the open-faced Chinese app that a lot of people, including myself, have played on for a fair amount of time, has been hacked.
Is that why you're stuck?
That's why. Yeah, there is somebody that's just absolutely crushed me for months and months and months, actually. Yes, but no, I'm confident that I'm not getting cheated there. And the person who, on the other hand, I'm playing, I think, 3 people. One person I'm absolutely destroying, one person I'm getting absolutely destroyed by, and then another person I just started playing. I think I'm up like 500 points or something, nothing huge. But here's the thing. So there was a video put out by Poker Listings where a person showed that he had access to both his and his opponent's cards. The first 5, the next 3 they're going to get, the next 3, the next 3, the next 3. So they could set their hand perfectly because they had perfect knowledge of what was coming.
Super user.
They're super using the OFC app, and it troubles me for a few reasons. First, it's not a cheap app. I think I've spent like $20 on this app on different add-ons and stuff. You would hope that there's some security. How long this has been available for, who knows? There's some people playing for some pretty big money out there. There's guys playing for 50, 100 a point, where they're, losing tens of thousands of dollars in this thing, or winning tens of thousands of dollars. I guess it bothers me that, and generally it's between friends, right? I mean, this is sort of this thing, oh, you're a buddy of mine, yeah, let's play on the app. You've got this sort of level of trust. Right. And here people are cheating their friends, basically, with this app.
Well, I mean, we don't know whether people are necessarily cheating their friends, but I guess the idea is if somebody's truly your friend, they shouldn't be cheating you. So people are cheating people who they are being cheated by people they think are their friends, if this is really happening on a widespread basis. But I've always said, like, this is not, you're not playing on PokerStars here. Like you're playing on an app that was created by like a dude, and you don't know what kind of security work has gone into it. Like and even that's true to some extent for other online sites like that haven't necessarily stood the test of time. You're just playing on this peer-to-peer game. Don't play for huge money, and don't play especially for huge money with people that you wouldn't trust. Like I think a decent rule is this: like, if you're gonna play, like, I wouldn't play for big money against. Not that I play open face anyway, but if I were to play open face, like, I wouldn't play anybody for big money that I wouldn't be willing to, like, say, hand 5% of my net worth in a paper bag and say, hey, can you hold on to this for a week? Right? Like, that's the thing. Like, I would, like, for example, like, I would let you do that, right? Like, I think we're close enough friends that I would let you do that. So I'd be willing to play. But, like, there are other people in the poker world where I wouldn't do that. So basically, if you're willing to play for a significant portion of your net worth against somebody, like, you have to trust them for that much money, because this isn't online poker with all the security of all the stuff that's going in there. There are going to be hacks. I mean, Sony was hacked this week, and let's look at how much money that they spent on cybersecurity and all this stuff. There is no such thing as a perfectly secure system. And so, you've got to be crazy if you're playing for huge money with somebody that you basically wouldn't trust just to hold on to a huge sum of money for you.
Yeah, and so what I would say is stay away from this app I may think just stay away from this app in general. I know Sean Deeb, if you check his Twitter or tweet at him, if you're looking for an app, he's involved with another one. Hopefully it's more secure than this one. People, hopefully they've learned from this hack. So yeah, check that out if you are playing on that app, or you want to play open-face Chinese against somebody. And like you said, I mean, if you're playing somebody who's a good friend of yours, who you think that there's zero chance that you're going to, he's buying this, piece of software or whatever to cheat you, then whatever, that's fine. But if you're playing somebody you don't know at all or don't have any confidence in that you can't be 100% sure, then don't play or keep it really small, like you said. I think that's excellent advice.
Yep.
In case you missed it, the Bellagio has installed the first Phil Hellmuth Limit Holdem machine. Of course, the Aria has had a Limit Holdem heads-up machine for a while. This one is branded specifically to Phil Hellmuth. It's at the Bellagio. Apparently even berates you if you win a couple hands in a row.
I saw that, and I wasn't sure if the person who wrote the article
was serious.
Joking. Yeah, exactly, because I was like, oh, that's like a funny thing. There's all these... Sometimes it's hard to tell on the first poker site you read because they often make jokes. But yeah, that is apparently actually a thing.
Fantastic. I mean, if you're going to use Phil... Yeah,
absolutely. It should tell you how bad you play and,
That's
how bad he runs and how above the rim he's playing.
Idiot from Northern Europe.
There's got to be all kinds of great drops.
What it should really do is it should identify where your slot club registered address is. You put your slot card in the machine, and this you could be the idiot from Western Canada. Or you don't necessarily have to be from Northern Europe. How cool of an add-on would that be? There's so many places you could go with this, right?
So I think the natural question though is, could Phil Hellmuth beat the Phil Hellmuth Limit Holdem head-up machine?
God, no. I mean, I've played the one at Aria, and it's fairly tough, although they did, I guess, end up installing the rate. But I would be impressed if Phil Hellmuth could beat the Limit Holdem. Not only do I not think he can't beat the Limit Holdem machine, his own Limit Holdem machine, I'd be, impressed if he could lose less than, 1 BB100 to it. And in fact, I would actually pay good money to watch a stream of Phil Hellmuth playing against the Phil Hellmuth Limit Holdem machine as he's complaining about how rigged it is. Because I remember when Phil Hellmuth repped Ultimate Bet, and he would talk about how the site was rigged, even though he was a sponsored pro there. And this is the most awful thing that you can do. So I mean, yeah, no, he is not beating a Limit Holdem machine. When I think you probably have people who play Limit Holdem for a serious living who probably have a hard time beating that machine.
Yeah, indeed. Not a ton to talk about this week. We do have Scott Ball after the break to talk some poker and Twitch. Also some more in case you missed it to get to. We've got Matthew Hilger from the Isle of Man and the world's biggest poker site, Pokerstars, coming on to give us an idea of what's happening there. We've also got a strategy minute from Mr. Bart Hansen from Crush Live Poker. This one is talking about blocking bets. And so we'll run that right now. You are listening to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. More right after this.
Hello and welcome to 2+2's Strategy Minute presented to you by CrushLivePoker.com. I'm Bart Hansen and I want to talk this week about block betting. I really hate block betting. Unless you are betting a small amount to induce your opponent to bluff raise you at the end. I mean, there are two primary reasons why we bet. One is for value, and one is as a bluff. I mean, there's a third minor reason, which is equity protection, but that doesn't really come into play on the river. When you block bet, you're betting a small amount so that you can get to showdown. So if you prevent your opponent from bluffing you, it's really a counterintuitive play. Also, if you check and your opponent bombs the river, well, you can decide, given the pot odds, if your hand is good or not. If you don't think that your hand is good, given the equity against his range and the pot odds, then you can just fold. But to put out a small bet just because you don't want to face a big bet really is a mistake.
6 max zoom 500, 230 big blinds deep. MP opens to 10 and I 3 bet 36 on the button with kings. He 4 bets small to 63 and I 5 bet 143 and flat his $222 6 bet. Pot is 450 with 1,000 behind. He bets 555 on the 10-7-3 rainbow flop, and I think, too bad I'm not capable of folding in these spots as I shove, only to see him turn over ace-10 after calling. I hold for 500 big blind pot.
Team Pro Online's Mikhail Inasai Shalamov is a Supernova Elite VIP. This is the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
Hey, it's Mike from the 2+2 store and ProfessionalPoker.com. 2+2 is pleased to announce the release of their most anticipated book in ages, Applications of No Limit Holdem, a guide to understanding theoretical sound poker by Matthew Jonda. This book will give you the ability to create the bet sizings and ranges which will beat the better players. The theory in this book is not designed to be complex or abstract, but rather it's intended to be applied immediately, producing better overall results. Many confusing concepts, such as overbetting, balancing multiple bet sizing ranges, donk betting, and check raising as a preflop raiser, are crucial to player strategy, despite few players implementing them or talking about them. And after reading this book, you should be able to not only conceptually understand these ideas, but also know how to begin incorporating them into your game, and thereby successfully compete against tough opponents. And at the 2+2 store, we accept all credit cards, plus PayPal and NetTeller.
I'm George Lynn III from Team Pokerstars Online, and here's my tip for making Supernova Elite. Play until you make Supernova Elite. Back to the rest of the 2+2 Pokercast presented by Pokerstars VIP Club.
Hey guys, this is Bart Hansen for CrushLivePoker.com. Whether you're a recreational player who wants to compete at the tables, or you're a professional and you want to increase your win rate, the material I've produced at CrushLivePoker.com will make you a better poker player. Act now and you can subscribe for free by using the coupon code TPC11. That's TPC for the Pokercast 11 and get the first month free. Good luck at the tables.
Welcome back to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. Terrence, we've been talking a lot about Twitch lately, so I thought would be a good idea was to bring in somebody who knew a lot more about it than you and I did. This is
well, that could be anybody.
Somebody random off the street is probably going to do it. This is Scott Ball. Scott, welcome to the Pokercast.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm really glad to be here.
Can you give us an idea of what your involvement is with Twitch and tell us how that all happened?
So, yeah, that sounds awesome. So basically, I am the poker partnerships lead here with Twitch TV. The way this came about was actually kind of interesting. Basically, prior to my time working for Twitch with poker, I worked in the esports industry for about 5 years, and I got to know quite a few people that worked there over the years, and they all kind of knew that I was a pretty avid poker player on the side of my day job. And that I was really passionate about the game. So when the opportunity kind of came up to work with Twitch TV and focus on the poker community, it was definitely something I couldn't pass up.
Can you give us an idea? First of all, let's lay the groundwork for people who don't know what Twitch is. Tell us what Twitch is.
Okay, cool. So Twitch is basically, I would say, think of it as a social video platform for gamers. You can come to Twitch TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, find live video content in like several different game genres and titles, which now includes poker. What makes Twitch even more unique, though, is the ability to use our chat system and interact with the broadcaster and fellow viewers that are watching the stream at the same time in real time. So basically, if you're watching a stream, not only is the video live, but if the broadcaster would like to, they can also see their chat as well. So you can sit there and actually ask the broadcaster questions, make comments on things, interact with fellow viewers on things. And it's just a really cool, unique experience for people to come on the internet, watch awesome live content, and socialize at the same time.
What are the parameters for that Twitch uses with its streamers? Is it you mentioned it was gaming? Is it gaming only? Is there some sort of code of conduct? Give us a breakdown exactly what the rules are.
What the rules are. So, of course, we have the terms of service. All the broadcasters have to follow the TOS. It's a pretty fair set of rules. It's pretty self-explanatory when you read them. In terms of using Twitch as a broadcaster, anyone can do it. Anyone can stream. It's free. There is no paywall to watch Twitch as well. So, for instance, say someone like Jason Somerville is streaming. It doesn't cost Jason Somerville any money to stream on Twitch. And at the same time, it also doesn't cost any money for you to come watch his stream. So there is no paywall. Now,
And what you were talking about and maybe if you could talk about the revenue model just in general, I'm curious as to how it's going to make money if nobody gets charged anything.
Okay, cool. So when it comes to the TOS, of course we have a terms of service. We have to make sure things are going smoothly. It's pretty self-explanatory. Most of it is kind of what you would expect, I would say. But you can definitely find that on the website to read it directly. In terms of the revenue model and how it works, basically there's over 9,000 partners right now at Twitch TV. Once you become a partner, that gives you the ability to monetize your channel via ad revenue and also subscriptions. So basically, since it's free to stream and free to watch a stream, partner channels can run ads and then make money off the ad revenue. And the way the subscription model works is, say you really enjoy the stream you're watching, say you really want to support that streamer, you can then elect to pay X number of dollars per month towards that stream, which is $4.99 for almost all the channels on Twitch. So basically, there's a few different ways for them to monetize a stream directly. And then there's also been, throughout the time on Twitch TV, different streamers have used like a donation model as well to kind of get additional support from anyone that wanted to provide it, basically.
So for the ad revenue stream side of things, you said you had a lot of partners. Can you give us an example of companies who are most commonly doing this? Do you have any kind of big name companies, household names, that kind of stuff? So who is buying up this advertising on Twitch?
So that's a hard question for me to answer because there's so many different people doing it, to be totally honest with you. And it's probably one I shouldn't directly answer. There's a lot of different game developers. I mean, I'm trying to think of the friendliest way I can say this without getting too much specifics because there's so much going on with that.
Presumably, if I'm watching a stream, then I'm going to see an ad at some point, right?
Yes. Let me see.
Okay.
So let me go to Twitch TV right now and see what the first ad that comes up when I open a stream.
Okay.
If I since I'm logged in, 1 sec.
But sort of in the general case, I guess you're talking about game developers, and it's mostly going to be gaming industry stuff at this point, or are you thinking that one day Coca-Cola and
there's definitely non-endemics involved in this space for sure. We can go into a whole spiel about non-endemics even becoming sponsors in like esports since Twitch has come onto this scene. But there's non-endemic companies like Coca-Cola. Like esports has gotten so big now with the broadcasting stuff that Coca-Cola is even actually involved in esports directly now.
I see.
And hosting like esports-focused events. So there's definitely non-endemics putting ads on Twitch, but there's also, of course, the endemics that you would expect.
And the content is just basically gaming only? There's nothing else to it?
Well, we're also doing some music verticals as well. And then when you use the word gaming, I think that's a really big word. Like, for instance, poker is really a game too, right? So there's a lot of different things that can be classified as games: board games, card games, video games, things like poker. If you really take back and like really analyze poker and esports, there's like so many similarities is there. I'll use StarCraft for an example. The pro StarCraft players, they grind practice games all day online. Then they do online tournaments every week, and they're also traveling throughout the year to various like large-scale live events to prove they're really the best in the world. So if you compare something like poker to that, the similarities are like pretty unreal.
What was it about poker that Twitch kind of decided? Wait, we gotta get on this bandwagon. What was the sort of the goal for Twitch with poker?
Okay, so first of all, like the goal with Twitch and poker, it's really simple. We want to bring something new and exciting to the poker community and help the game itself grow. That's the end-all, be-all goal. What got us into it is the amount of crossover there is in our audience with poker directly as well. Again, we'll go back to the esports example. On top of all those similarities, there's even guys that are currently like big-name pro poker players that used to be pro gamers, like actually esport gamers. Like Elke, for example, used to be a big-time pro StarCraft pro. He was actually like one of the best in the world. So when we started seeing some people stream poker on Twitch, we talked about the idea. Jason Somerville decided to give it a try, and I mean, Jason's stream is pretty incredible. The way he interacts with chat is phenomenal. The play is obviously great. The guy's a very, very successful pro player, and I think when he started streaming, everything just really took off. It seems like the community loved the concept, and that's really what we're here for. Like I said, to bring something and exciting to the poker community and help the game grow. As a poker player and fan myself, I think if I look at poker content and the frequency of like real live poker that happens on television or various places on the internet, there's like not that much of that. And on top of that, when it comes to watching poker videos, most of them are totally amazing and awesome and great to watch. But there's like, it's almost like the content eventually runs out if you really, really push and watch a lot of it and you've really studied the game with it like that, right? So the goal is like to bring something completely new to the poker industry with just this live content 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Terrence and I talked about it earlier. There's a guy this week, Byron Bernstein. He's an LA-based professional video game player. He was playing small stakes on Bovada this week. He's generally a Warcraft guy. He streams. I think he's got 250,000 followers or something. He's playing online poker. We were talking earlier about it, Scott, about the power, the database of people that these guys have that are already apt to play games to drive traffic to poker. But not poker. But these guys are already predisposed to playing, games like this, and then they see their heroes playing them and doing well. It's got to be pretty exciting for Twitch and for online sites.
I mean, it's super exciting. The amount of new players that could potentially come to the game is obviously huge. And there is just huge crossover there, as we already said, right? There's so many gamers that'll be fascinated by poker. Again, there's so many similarities that you're talking about a crowd that has played video games or participated or watched different sorts of video games for a while now. And poker really, it's competitive. It's exciting. It's a skill game. Poker is absolutely a skill-based game, just like a lot of these video games. So the amount of similarities just make it very exciting to, I think, new viewers that are checking this out for the first time, especially when either their hero, like him, like Byron's streaming, or then they go watch someone like Jason Somerville, even if you're not a poker player. When you listen to him talk about stuff on stream, you realize very quickly the amount of skill there is involved with the game. And I think that gets like the gaming audience really excited, because they love skill-based games, right? They love to strive to be better, right?
Absolutely. One of the talking about guys like Byron and guys like Jason. Jason obviously, we talked about this, has an awful lot of charisma. He's able to talk nonstop. He also understands the game at a really high level. What do you think? He's starting to build his star through this and becoming a big name, and we're probably going to see other guys continue to do this in the poker world too. But it doesn't seem like the easiest thing in the world. I know that I definitely couldn't, stream poker and make it interesting the way that Jason does. I don't think I have the skills. But what do you think are the skills that could kind of make someone a superstar in the if they wanted to do this?
I mean, I think the most important things to like growing a stream are, 1, consistency, and 2, engagement. If you look at Jason's stream, for the month of November, he had a schedule out for like the entire month. I'm streaming this day, this time. So it's almost like if for instance, if you like to watch The Walking Dead or something like that, or have your favorite TV show, every Sunday night at this time that show is on, right? It's almost like you're giving people an opportunity to say, hey, I know every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, I can go catch this stream. So it kind of becomes, in a way, people's favorite show, just like their favorite TV show. So consistency, I think, is important. And when I say engagement, what I mean is the ability to interact and respond to questions, criticisms, and thought processes in chat. Because the viewer interaction, I think, is like what makes Jason even more incredible. On top of being a great player, he can answer your questions and he can make everything exciting. He's an entertainer, and those are I would say, the most important attributes to becoming a good streamer.
This week we had an interesting streamer, Sticky Rice One, who sort of took over the NVG forums. I'm not sure exactly what percentage of poker streaming traffic it was with Twitch, but if you had an eye on 2+2 at all, you were seeing his exploits. That people were following that. I didn't see the amount of people that he had following him, but it seemed like there was a pretty big dose of 2+2ers. Give us a sort of rundown of the Sticky Rice phenomenon.
Okay, so the Sticky Rice phenomenon, I mean, I think the best way to describe Sticky Rice is he's an entertainer, man. the guy's hilarious. He does funny things. He has a lot of charisma. The way he breaks down hands is hilarious. And it's not like hilarious in a bad way. He like does some really good things sometimes, right? Like he makes some really good plays, but at the same time, then he can do something silly. And the bottom line is he's playing like every other player. He has a reason for everything he does, and that's how you play poker, right? You make a decision based off the information you have, and he does that. But he gets so excited in the hands, like you'll almost never find anyone in anything in life that'll like win a single hand. It could be like $6, and this guy will like jump on his chair and cheer, and just like it's like the greatest thing ever just happened. And then again, you take a guy like Sticky Rice, and not only that, then he started playing 10-20. He ran up like an insane night. Like I think he turned like $2K into like $42,000 in one stream. And every poker player knows how ridiculous it is to make $40,000 in profit in 8 hours of 10-20. That's like the unheard of run. So I think the run got everyone really excited, and it's because of how hyped the guy is, man. He's a great entertainer.
What was Twitch's take on it? Did they understand that they had some sort of phenomenon going on here?
I mean, in terms of Twitch's take on it, like, of course we can see the guy as a great entertainer. So can I answer this question twice and backtrack a little bit?
Sure.
Are you looking to know like why, like if we banned him and that kind of thing?
No, well, I know he did get banned a couple of times, and I know he obviously crossed the line a couple, before the the terms of service, and he was unbanned, I guess, because he said he wasn't going to do it again. He's very, very popular, obviously, but
okay, cool. So I can get into that then a little bit.
Sure.
That question a little better. So in terms of Twitch's take on it, like all we want any streamer to do is follow the TOS. Basically, unfortunately, one night he did something that violated the TOS. And he was temporarily banned from the site. Now, the reality is we have like an amazing admin team here at Twitch TV. When he got banned, there was quite a bit of showing that they wanted to see Sticky Rice. Now, I will credit Sticky Rice here in the sense of we reached out to him. We had a long conversation with him, and he said, hey, guys, I will totally follow the rules. I want to do this. I will follow the rules. I will respect the TOS. And I would love to stream and give these people what they want to see. And our admin staff, being the awesome staff that they are and how much they care about the community, they decided to, let's give this guy another chance. The community wants to see this. He's willing to follow the TOS, so let's make it happen. And they did. So huge props to the admin staff for doing that. And like I said, we can obviously see the guy's a great entertainer. And I hope he continues to stream poker for a long time, and I hope he continues to follow all the rules, and I hope everyone continues to enjoy it. I know I personally... I've had many laughs watching Sticky Rice's one stream this week.
Indeed, yeah. We also mentioned the effect it had on traffic at Bovada. It seemed like it doubled their traffic almost.
Yeah, I would say a couple things can attest to that. Like, one, what the effect that Twitch long-term could potentially have on the game as a whole. As I said here, we're here to help this game grow. That's one of our big focuses, because the more the game grows, the more beneficial it is for the community, right? And that was one guy in a matter of 48 hours. Like, people are saying hypothetically doubled a certain poker site's traffic. That's pretty unreal effect that one stream with a few thousand viewers can have over in 2 days, right? So hopefully that's a testament to everyone and what we can potentially help do in the future for the game as a whole. But yeah, man, the traffic on Bovada definitely increased. I play there myself, and there was definitely more games going on. And the crazy thing was it wasn't like there was just more 10-20 games. So it wasn't like it was only regs trying to like find certain players and play them specifically, right? There was like more 1-2 games. There was more 50-0 games going. Like, there was more of everything going for like a few days. I haven't played today at all, really, but there could still be more games going today. So it didn't just affect like the stakes that Sticky Rice was playing specifically. It was like site-wide. It was really cool.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Rising tide floats all boats and all that kind of stuff. Most of the Sticky Rice saga actually occurred. I'm in Hong Kong, so a lot of it occurred while I was sleeping, and I ended up catching a lot of the notes after the fact. And Personally, myself, I don't watch a lot of live streams of games or poker that often. I'm a little like ADD if I'm either watching something or it's too distracting for me. But what I was interested in, and maybe you have a take on this, is there any way to sort of make highlight reels or summaries of really lengthy streams? Because somebody could be streaming for 10 a really long time, but some of it. Obviously, a lot of any given stream might be boring. If somebody folds pre-flop, it's not very exciting. But it's much more exciting when somebody makes runner quads and takes all his underwear off and dances and does a cartwheel kind of thing. Is it? We sort of watch.
Keeps the underwear on.
Okay, yeah, violating the terms of service again, right?
Please
exactly.
keep the underwear on.
But the general thought is, I guess, like for people like me, not everybody watches every football game every weekend. Some guys just want to see all the big plays and all the touchdowns. Is there any sense that Twitch could kind of use some of the raw material and create highlight reels of some kind?
Yes. So the broadcaster themselves can actually go through their previous VOD and literally have a tool that literally highlights certain clips and would just segment certain aspects of the stream. So the broadcaster completely has the ability to do that. They just have to figure out what they want highlighted and go ahead and do that.
Are there other card games, Scott, that other than poker, or is there what else is there on there?
Absolutely. So on top of the other standard video games, we have other card games on there too. Pokemon, for example, they actually had the Pokemon World Championship card game. Hey, it's a card game, right?
It is.
Yeah.
People play it for $55,000 or something like that. It's awesome. Magic the Gathering is another card game that's frequently streamed live on Twitch. Not even necessarily it's streamed in the electronic sports sense, but they'll have live MTG tournaments that are fully broadcasted in person. Hearthstone, Blizzard's new card game. I would say those are the three biggest card games currently on Twitch aside from poker.
Fascinating, Scott. Thanks so much for your time. It's a new sort of phenomenon that's going on in the poker world and really in the game streaming world, obviously, that's changing all kinds of things. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it very much.
Hey, no worries. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
That was Scott Ball from Twitch. And T, obviously, we're going to see this expand and change. It's in its infancy, and I look forward to some of the stuff that's coming down the pipe for sure.
Yeah, and we've been reading the forums, and there have been calls for us even to sort of live stream this Pokercast. I think Ross has been working on it, trying to fiddle with some knobs and seeing how we can do it. Personally, I'm fucking terrified of the idea. the stuff that we do when the microphone is not live. I mean, you could just make this endless highlight reel.
This is true.
I don't really know if we want to do that or not, but maybe at some point we have to give the people what they want. I don't know.
I think back to that old SNL Bad Idea Jeans commercial. I don't know if you guys are probably too young to have seen that one, but it's a great commercial. There's some ideas seem great, and then maybe they're not.
It's mostly
idea.
We end a segment and Adam goes, "Okay, we've got 14 edits there, there."
Yeah.
Or somebody's Skype drops or something. I always feel it's just if I've always felt that if you really like eating sausage, you shouldn't see how sausage is made. If you really like the Pokercast, you probably won't want to hang out and watch Adam and I and Ross try to cobble this thing together with shoestrings and duct tape.
Having said that, I can't imagine anything at a sausage factory that wouldn't want to make me eat sausage.
Really?
I don't know what they could be doing there that would make me go.
Because you already in your head have the worst case scenario.
Exactly. I already know. So that's no, but we do want to start streaming this, and we actually had it set up today, but it didn't quite work out. We will get around to that. And we'll live stream. Also, I was going to talk to Ross about this later, but we might as well do it now. I think we should start streaming the Invitational, Roscoe, and maybe you can do that while you're playing the Invitational.
That's easy to do.
You could be the next Twitch star, so to speak, and have your own channel. So, 2+2 does have a channel on Twitch, though. I think a lot of people are going to be using that, or in the near future, some people are going to jump on there and stream some stuff.
I'll probably just bust out in the first level and then do commentary for the rest of the thing.
Perfect. Yeah, there you go. And build the community that way.
Nobody's going to learn strategy from me.
All right. So in case you missed it, we have some tournament poker that's been going on. Stephen Grainer, I think I got that right, wins EPT Prague, the first EPT he ever entered. So he's 1 for 1. Pretty humble guy. He says, quote, I just caught a lot of premium hands and won some critical flips. The dealer did as much work as I did. You don't often hear that a lot of the time.
No, and you should hear it. Like, and basically, like, anytime anybody wins a major, that should basically be the exit interview. It's like, yeah, I ran really good, and my hands always got there, and they always held up.
Not like I'm in the zone. I read him perfectly. I knew where I was at.
It's usually not that bad, but it's usually like, yeah, I thought I played really well. And it's like, man, even if you played like shit, you probably would have finished like 5th, right? Like, because the fact of the matter is, anybody who like wins €1 million nearly, like this guy did, in a really tough, what's typically a tough field, and for a big buy-in, you just have to run like God. Sorry, there's no way about it.
1,107 entries, the biggest DPT Prague ever. As you mentioned, €1 million. Congratulations to Stephen Grainer. There's some people actually were asking for us to get him on the show. Might be a bit difficult given that he's just won that. He's over in Prague. But
you're saying he's basically like buying a bar somewhere and like has like 3 Czech supermodels all over him. Is that
maybe
what you're like implying?
I mean, it's 50-50, right? That's happening. So we'll keep that in mind though for later on. The WPT, of course, we talked about it last week with Rich Ryan, is down in Las Vegas at the WPT 5 Diamond. Now, Terrence, in past years, it's been the WPT Doyle Brunson 5 Diamond.
I noticed that.
Yeah, what happened to the Doyle Brunson?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is there beef between Doyle and the WPT that nobody has heard of? I mean, there needs to be some investigative journalism on this.
Could be a serial episode right there.
Yes, next time on the WPT serial.
Yeah, maybe he was asking for a bunch of dough, and they just kind of got sick of writing him a check for his name. Who knows? The main event did get 582 entries, up from 449 last year. Now, there was some controversy, 582 entries, but there is unlimited re-entries, not unlimited rebuys, unlimited re-entries into this tournament. There was a lot of controversy. Well, there was a lot of controversy stirred up by one Allen Kessler, who wasn't a big fan of that. And I understand his concerns.
Allen's never been a fan of the unlimited re-entry format. He's never been a fan of most of those things in general, and I totally think that's a fair, reasonable point of view. It's just that he tends to be more vocal about it than most.
Yeah, and he, one of the things that Daniel Negreanu tweeted out was, I guess there's no other. Oh, Daniel Coleman, I guess it could have been. No, Daniel Negreanu tweeted out he was going to buy a stack basically in day 2. Into day 2, meaning he's going to jump in day 1 and just get his money in blind and however many rebuys it takes to run up a stack, a triple up or whatever, he was going to do that. So I want to ask you about this because it's interesting. There's always this discussion of if he wants to dust off 10,000 going all in blind for 1,000 big blinds, why should we get in the way? Why is he doing it? I guess is a valid question. Is the fact that he turns 30,000 into 90,000, 1 in 5 times that he gets it in 3 ways or something like that because he's got it in so bad every time. But once he gets the 90,000. He makes up for that with the big edge that he has for being a big stack against a bunch of 30,000 stacks. Now, clearly he thinks it's a plus EV move to go in blind nonstop and freely telling his players, look, watch me, I'm going in blind, I'm not going to look at my hand, call me off with whatever hand you want. To get it in bad like that, do you think he makes up for it with buying it in this tournament? He bought in 5 times. But do you think he makes up for it with the big stack?
I personally don't think it's likely that his EV is high enough to get it in, like you say 3 ways with 20% equity it's probably not worth it. I think Daniel's always been a guy who always thinks he has a very large edge over the field, and I think his edge is smaller than he thinks it is. There's a lot of really tough players in that field. Anytime you're playing a 10K in Las Vegas, that's usually going to be the case. I certainly don't have a problem with it from an ethical side of point of view. I mean, if you were lucky enough to draw Daniel's table, you now have a big edge. Your 10K is now maybe worth 13, 14K just as an average player because, like you said, let's say you're the big blind and Daniel's in the small and everyone folds around him and he tells you shoving blind. I mean, you could just sit there, if you believe him, you just call him there with King 8 or something like that, something that's going to have over 50% on his blind calling range, blind shoving range, and you have a very big edge. I think it's I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think the only thing that people say is that, this turns off the casual player, that this big shot can go in and throw his money around, and people will think he has big edge, which I think is a valid point. But do I actually think that he can make plus EV in this circumstance? I mean, if we're talking about his actual EV in the tournament, not things like, if he he's a big deal in the media. So if he wins this tournament, that increases his brand, all the other stuff that's outside of the tournament, not just talking about the tournament. No, I don't think he can make all this money. I don't think he can make back that edge. So I certainly don't have a problem with him blasting off if he wants to.
And I remember back in 2008, in the 1K rebuy that they ran at the World Series.
He's been doing this for years.
Yeah, he would fire 30 bullets in the 1K rebuy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ross.
Right, but Daniel has different utility from winning a tournament than other people do. So, he's landed this fantastic sponsorship deal with PokerStars, and it's on the back of World Series of Poker wins. That maybe, I can't remember if he won that tournament, but clearly his goal to win bracelets, because the bracelet to him is worth more than just the first prize. How much? It's a good question. Who knows? But he has different things to think about.
But anybody could do this, right? There's nothing stopping
I wouldn't say that.
From...
I don't think that's true. I don't think there's a big site out there, especially now. But if you're back then, you can take half the field and throw them out because they're not marketable people. They're not. Daniel's very personable.
But that's not his fault. This thing is back in 2000.
No, I'm blaming him. I'm not blaming him. I'm explaining it.
Right. No, I understand. But he was there to build his brand in the early mid 2000s, whenever he became a big deal, and he put an investment in himself, taking the worst of it sometimes in poker tournaments, and he did. As Ross mentions, he would blast off in those rebuys, and if you drew his table, you just hit the lotto in those 1K rebuys, and now now he's doing that. I feel like he doesn't even have to do it, really, because honestly, if Daniel Negreanu wins another 10K, I don't really think the poker media is going to be like, oh my god, it's so amazing. Mm-hmm. I don't really think it actually builds his brand that much. The overlay, his sort of star overlay, I don't actually think is that big anymore. But it certainly was back at the time, and it's surprising that this is such a big deal. His tweet was such a big deal because this is nothing new, as Ross points out. He's been doing this for 10 years almost.
Yeah, and the other ancillary benefit back then when he did it in rebuy tournaments in the World Series of Poker is, of course, if he loses the all-in and then rebuys, those chips are on the table, and he can gauge if their table's going to break. If he's going to be there a long time at that table, then he's going to have a chance to win those chips back. And if he wins, obviously he's going to have a bigger stack. So, but this is different with re-entry, right? Because theoretically, you're supposed to bust out of the tournament, go re-enter, and get seated at a different table. However, I don't think that happened at the World Poker. I think he drew the same table somehow or another for this tournament in one of the times that he did rebuy. As I said, rebought 5 times. But I agree with you. I think he's already reaped the benefit of being that star of the point. It's not like he's going to sign a bigger deal or a better deal with a different company. So clearly,
do you remember? Sorry to cut you off, but do you remember back? I was reminiscing back about the 1K rebuys. The people that you would sort of cheat on their taxes by taking advantage of this.
No, how did they do that?
Okay. So I'm surprised that you don't know this. But basically, what happened? I don't know when they stopped doing this. I guess it was the last year that they ran the 1K rebuy. But basically, they didn't issue you another tournament receipt for every time you rebought, right? Because that logistically would have been really difficult. So you have your original tournament sheet. And, anytime that, at the end of the rebuy period, which is whatever, after level 4 or whatever it was back in those days, so somebody would come around with a stamp and just ask how many rebuys would you take. And
wow.
Yeah, exactly. Where could this possibly go wrong? And people would just make up arbitrary number. Of course, I never did this. I was always completely honest with all of the taxes that I've paid in my life. But yeah, people would just be like, yeah, I bought 17 rebuys, and then they would stamp it 17 times or whatever it was, so that you could get this. You could count it against your winnings, and obviously, I think that probably works better for Americans than it did for people from other jurisdictions. But that sort of Ross put that seed into my head. So any of those guys who play the 1K rebuy back in the day were trying to take advantage.
How many bullets would you fire in the 1K when you played it?
Well, it would really depend who was at my table. I remember the last year that they had it, I was seated with Theo Tran, and Theo was also willing to blast off. And we basically, we were willing to ship it in against each other, like knowing that one of us was going to end up with a huge stack. But I wasn't willing, and I didn't have the bankroll to be able to just sort of really like blast off. But I would play loose in the first level. Like you're under the gun with 8-6 suited. Like why not? Like let's just open for raise and see if we get like 6 callers and maybe hit something. That it was sort of that level, but it was never like I have like the tightest player at the table just shipped and I have like king deuce suited. Let's gamble kind of thing. Because I think that's like I said, I don't think you can make up that kind of.
That's just bad. That's just bad play.
I mentioned 582 entries. The winner this year is going to, and remember it's a 10K. The winner this year is going to get 1.5 million. At one point earlier today, Mr. Dan Heimiller, I believe it's day 3 today. Dan Heimiller was leading. I think Garrett Greer is up there now. Dan has slipped back, but. One day we got to have Dan Heimiller on the Pokercast one day. He would be a very entertaining interview. I think I tried to get him one time, and he was right down for it, and then he flaked. He's kind of like that, and we had a hard time, meeting up with or getting a hold of him. So that didn't happen. But one day we'll track him down.
Best personal poker player like website.
No question.
In there, it's danheimiller.com, and he spells his own name wrong, I believe, on the URL. And it's a hilarious website because it just looks like it was made, by some teenager in the '90s, and talks about like how his big accomplishment was like the 5th place finish and like the $500 whatever. It's fantastic.
It is good. One last tidbit about poker tournaments. The cleaner.
We forgot. Oh, sorry about that. We forgot to talk in that very tournament about the alternate controversy.
Oh yeah, right. So what happened was they're keeping it in the Fontana room this year. They didn't expand out. They wanted to keep it all. Is this what you're talking about? And they
yes.
built an alternate list instead of having cash game tables. They were what was happening?
I saw some tweets. I was trying to look for a 2+2 thread where people would talk about this, but all I got was I saw some tweets. I saw some tweets from Daniel. I saw some tweets from, I think, Andy Frankenberger got a lot of retweets, and I even saw Jason Somerville tweet about it, that the alternate list was just insanely long, apparently, despite the fact that they have cash games going on now. And I'd like to kind of know your opinion on this. If, not from perspective of a player, obviously it sucks. Nobody likes sitting around waiting to get into a game. But from the perspective of the Bellagio, let's say you're the poker room manager, or you're the general poker manager of the Bellagio. Now, the cash games, obviously, they're going to generate rake, but you've got this big prestigious tournament and a bunch of angry players standing around. Would you open new cash games if that was an option, or would you seat the players who are willing to get into who have already bought tickets for this tournament?
It's a really tough call because your cash game players are there every day. They're the ones that pay the bills. They're day after day. So to stand there until 10 of your regulars who are standing there wanting to start a 15-30 limit hold'em game or whatever they're going to have, or a 5-10 no limit, whatever. These are your guys that are in to piss them off versus looking at a guy who's traveling the circuit and he's a big name or whatever, but does he really spend a lot of money? You got to take care of your customers. So I understand if I'm that tournament guy who's standing there mad because they're not opening new tournament tables. I understand why they're doing it. But I think if I'm the poker room manager, I'm going to take care of my customers.
That's interesting. I'm not sure which side I fall on. I see that point of view, but I do think that if you are going to run a big tournament and bring in people from around the room, it is kind of your or from around the world. It is kind of your responsibility to have the infrastructure and to have a room that is capable of supporting all of these things, or at the very least give people some kind of heads up, like, hey, our demand is higher than it is, so there might be a lot of alternates. But I mean, I hear there's like a really long alternate list. I think there were people who just didn't even get it in at all on day one. I'm not 100% sure about that. Like I said, I was hoping to find a thread. I couldn't find it in the MTT forum or NVG or anything like that. So if anybody was there and can give us a full better update, and maybe let us know in the show thread. But it's rough. I just kind of I feel I know what you're saying about the regular cash game players. At the same time, if you're, the reason you have a poker tournament is to draw prestige to your property. And if you kind of screw that up, then that's self-defeating in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agree. I understand what you're saying, and that makes a lot of sense, too. One last tidbit, the cleaner, Jort van Hoof, takes down the Sunday warm-up for $91K this weekend. So he's right back to the grind, even though he hit the big payday. Who knows what percentage he had of himself, but he's back on the grind playing the Sunday schedule over at PokerStars.
He probably had a good chunk of himself in the Sunday warm-up.
I would think he probably had most of them. You would hope.
Yeah.
He had most of himself for that one. Okay, we're going to take a break. We've got some more to come back to. We've got some listener emails, some more in case you missed it. And, of course, we're going to talk to Matthew Hilger over at the Isle of Man. You're listening to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. More right after this.
At a 8-handed table, UTG min raises to 8K with 32 big blind effective. Cutoff calls with 70 big blinds, and I call with 10-9 of spades on the button with a stack of 400K. Both blinds fold. Flop comes Jack 8-6 rainbow with 1 spade. UTG bets 14K, cutoff calls, and I overcall. The turn is the ace of spade, giving me a flush draw. UTG keeps on betting, 32K this time. Cutoff calls again, and I raise to 90K. After tanking for a few minutes, UTG lets it go. Cutoff takes even longer before folding too.
Team Pro Online's Marc-Andre French Dog Ladouceur is a Supernova Elite VIP. This is the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club.
Hey, poker fans, don't forget about the 2plus2.com digital magazine. Each month, a wide array of poker professionals and media write fascinating articles about the game you love. Want to learn about big blind versus small blind hand ranges? How about optimal Jeopardy daily double strategy? Topics like those and many others are covered every month. Head on over to 2plus2.com to see what the magazine has to offer this month.
Hi, I'm Bart Hansen, the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. I wanted to tell you, the Pokercast listener, about some of the free material that we put on CrushLivePoker.com every single week. You can listen to me Sunday nights at 4:45 Pacific Time for Crush Live Call-Ins, a live call-in show analyzing no-limit hands. And, of course, you can also listen to 2+2 legend Lyman do his radio show live every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time. You can listen to both of these shows live, and they're both free.
There once was a mob that wanted her. There once was a pop that wanted her. I know she's confused, she's my blood sister. Told me to lose that she's got the shiver. Only a child in the middle of a war. She's a hot child, not because of her divas. Hey, my mom, what the hell is wrong with y'all?
Welcome back to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. T, let's get into some more in case you missed it. I want to talk about this real quick. Maria Ho, there was an interviewer with her this week, and she said maybe it was time to get rid of ladies' events. I wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that. I can kind of see from her point of view, she's one of these people who she's worked really hard on her craft, and she's a really serious poker player. Obviously, has had a lot of good results in the last little while. But I'm a little bit surprised, given how many how popular they continue to be. At the World Series of Poker, other events around the world when they have them. It seems like a good gateway to get women into poker. I don't really. I can't say I agree. I don't think they should be taken super seriously, and they shouldn't count for Player of the Year awards and all these and GPIs and all these kind of stuff. But I can't say I agree with that, because there are just so many women out there who are casual players who just feel kind of intimidated when they play with men, and they prefer to play with women in ladies' events.
Yeah, I agree. Well, she probably gets asked this nonstop, though, right? I mean, it's, what do you think of ladies' tournaments? What do you think of ladies' tournaments? She probably wants to get rid of them she doesn't have to answer the question anymore. But you're right. I agree with you. I think that she probably looks at them like, as a female that has done quite well and is on par with the rest of the poker community, or above par. She's an excellent player. She can probably look at those things and go, well, how necessary are they? But as you say, there are so many women that are intimidated, and just to get them in the door and playing tournament poker so they know how it goes, check to you, or it's on you. They're very intimidated by how they put the chips out, and until they get used to that, if they play one or two of those events, and they get to
all
be
kinds of stuff. Even the ones who know the rules and aren't, they're sometimes weirded out by guys flirting with them at the table, or this kind of thing. That there's sort of that stuff. I think this is consistent with Maria's stance on this, and I very much respect her. Even if I disagree with her in this case, I remember reading not long ago. Somebody asked her about being the last woman standing again, which again she was this year, and she also was way back. I don't remember what it was, but it was a long time ago when ESPN started covering this sort of last woman standing thing. And she said basically no, I don't think last woman standing is like a real thing. I don't think it's a big deal, and I 100% agree with her on that. Because being last woman standing, it's a media construct. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be too excited to be last Asian standing, or last Canadian standing, or last MMA fighter standing, or last whatever thing I just want to do well in the poker tournament that I'm playing. It is kind of silly, but I think ladies' events are a bit different in that they do offer this much more welcoming environment to casual female players. At the same time, I also wonder why, and I just thought of this, why would a professional poker player who has a gigantic edge over the field in any ladies event ever want to get rid of that, right?
Yeah.
If you were a woman of Maria Ho's level, or if you were Vanessa Selbst, or, any of these really high caliber female players, and your ROI is just 400% in a lot of these terms, why would you ever want, it's like
Babe Ruth playing softball, or slow pitch, right?
Right. It's imagine if the year that you qualify for the seniors tournament, you're yeah, this is bullshit. There shouldn't be a seniors tournament. No, please. You're salivating at the thought of getting to play in these fields. That's what we should really ask her about.
Yeah, I think you've depressed me now in the morning, thinking how close I am to playing seniors.
Ask Dan Heimiller if he wants to end the seniors event.
Yeah, no, he's probably not going to. Speaking of MMA fighters, UFC star, and I know nothing about UFC, so you're going to have to take this one, but Roy Big Country Nelson takes down a charity tournament. Give us the scoop on that.
Yeah, I saw this on F5. The F5 does all of the lighter side of poker. So yeah, Roy Big Country Nelson. If you don't know him, he does not look like a typical MMA fighter. I don't know, Adam, if you want to Google him.
I saw an image of him. He looks like he's in that Duck show on what's it called, Duck Dynasty. He looks like one of those dudes.
Yeah, he's about 6 foot tall heavyweight. He's got a mullet that goes down to his mid back, and he's like most UFC heavyweights, about 260 pounds. The difference is, however, he's not one of these jacked 260-pound, is he on steroids or isn't he kind of guy. He has a huge gut, belly, looks more like your average poker player than your average UFC fighter. Let's just say it that way. So he's got a big guy with a big beer gut kind of thing, rubs his belly after big fights. So he's obviously super popular with the fans, has a monstrous big right hand over his best punch is his overhand right. He's knocked out tons of guys with his overhand right. Black belt in jiu-jitsu. Definitely crowd favorite because people kind of he absorbs punishment like a beast. He almost never goes down. He's been hit with volleys and volleys of shot. He just takes a leg, keep going, kind of like the Homer Simpson of UFC. But anyway, yeah, he wins this tournament, and so he's now won a poker tournament. Martin Kampman won that tournament at the Peppermill earlier this year. Martin Kampman, also a UFC a welterweight, 170-pounder. Basically, they have both won tournaments more recently than me, which I'm just starting to think that I should just off myself because, all of the, my thing used to be that I was the MMA guy who was good at poker, or alternatively, at least, the poker player who was okay at fighting. And now, these
You're
guys,
good at neither.
I'm not good at any of these things, and they are, and I don't know what my space in the poker world is now.
Yeah, you have to find where you're a poker podcaster is what you are now.
Oh, okay. So I'm the best like a guy who can fight among poker podcasters.
Yeah, you would win the poker podcasting MMA championship.
Well, if they had a seniors event, a ladies event, and an MMA fighters event, I'm sure Terrence would take it down.
He's getting
yes, and I would not be calling for the abolition of said event. I would be happy to play in it.
Nice.
I would re-enter. I would try to buy a stack.
Your girlfriend Robin, she's a wrestler too. Do you guys roll around on the mat?
We have. She has been both the voluntary and involuntary grappling partner of. That is the nice thing is about dating somebody who's a little bit familiar with her. Like you said, she wrestled in university a little bit, and you get to say like, "Here, honey, I saw this today. I want to try this." I don't think most people get to do that.
No. Interesting. Okay, so that's
so much sexual innuendo. I can't get over it.
That's driving you nuts. Okay,
so many jokes.
That's it for In Case You Missed It. We're going to head over to talk to Mr. Matthew Hilger now at the Isle of Man. We're going to talk about some Pokerstars. Welcome back to the Pokercast, Matthew Hilger.
Hello, how are you guys?
All good. Lots going on. You're still in the middle of all this December craziness over at Pokerstars. First of all, I want to get an update from you. Has there been a $1 million spin and go yet?
There has not. But the volumes, they're still getting a lot of action, and we're waiting patiently. But like I said last week, we will run this until one hits for sure.
Now, a quick question for you, because I don't exactly understand. I'm not sure if you know exactly the intricacies on how that whole $1 million thing is hit. Does it progressively get easier to hit as it's not played, or is it the same odds every time one of those $5 fires up?
It's the same odds every single time.
Okay.
So So that's why we could hit several this month, or it's possible, obviously, that we could hit zero. If it's in the case that we don't hit one this month, we will just extend the promotion and keep it going until we do hit one.
Fantastic. Lots going on, as I said. December 21st is Double Vision Sunday. So this is 2 Sunday kickoffs, 2 Sunday warm-ups, each with $1 million guaranteed, 2 Sunday storms, each with $600 guaranteed, and 2 Sunday millions, both $2 million guaranteed, a total of $3.8 million in guarantees for Double Vision Sunday. People are satelliting like crazy, I imagine, to get into these things.
Yes, we're doing it a little bit differently than we've done in the past. We tossed out around this idea calling it Blurry Sunday because one of the tournaments will be 6 max and one of the tournaments will be 9 max. So it'll be interesting to see from our perspective, just to see how many players, which one is more popular. Is it the 6 max version or the 9 max version? There's a lot of debate over in our department about that.
That's interesting. I wonder. Yeah. With hardcore players, of course, 6 max is going to be more popular. But with casual players, T, what do you think? I think it's going to be. I think there's going to be more people in the 9 max.
I think there will be more people in 9 max. I think historically, online poker players have chosen 9 max. The thing is that I would think it would be a different result if it were a live poker room. Do you know why I always love 6 max live poker? Leg room.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I guess there's more room for your avatar.
That's true.
Yeah,
I think I agree. I think the 9 max will be the most popular. I think of all of the 4 we're running, I think the warm up will probably be the one that has the best ratio for 6 max. Obviously, because I think that's just more reg driven, and then of course the Sunday Storm is only $11, so I think that'll be heavily 9 max. But we'll see. There's varying opinions in the department, so it'll be fun to see the results.
So that's Double Vision Sunday, December 20, or Blurry Sunday, December 21st. I know you're not calling it that, but I like it. It sounds good. December 28th is, of course, the highlight, the Super Sunday Million Special, where you're going to guarantee $5 million for a $215 buy-in.
that's going to be a great tournament. It falls, in years past, at the very end of the year, sometimes we get a little unlucky, and Sunday falls around Christmas or New Year's. But this year, it falls right in the middle. So we're expecting a really good turnout. Obviously, we're going to be putting up lots of satellites for it, and should be a great tournament to end off the year.
You wanted to give an update on some of the seating script issues. Maybe let us know what's going on there.
Yeah, just wanted to give a quick update. I know it's been a hot discussion topic. As you guys know, we put a thread up at 2+2. There is daily conversation going on there about the ideas about what we can do. A few weeks ago we did fix the I guess what people are calling the dancing R problem. That part's been fixed, but of course we're looking at the bigger picture, the long-term picture. So there's been a team put together from Pokerstars. Chris Jonat and Board Dar will be on the team, and they're going to be traveling to Toronto in the middle of January, where our development team is. Ike Haxton is going to be going as well, and as well as a few other players. I think they're trying to get 3 or 4 players. So they're going to have a team together, 5, 6, 7 people. They're going to meet in Toronto. Any ideas they come up with, they can immediately bounce off our developers to get feedback. So they're working hard on this. We're getting lots of feedback from the poker community, which is, it's been very helpful. And hopefully they'll come up with a solution in mid-January, and we'll get it rolled out.
I was lucky, guys. I can't imagine anywhere I'd rather be in mid-January than Toronto. That sounds like a fantastic trip.
Yeah.
You
get to watch such a great hockey team.
Well, you're not going to see hockey much after January, so you might as well go then. Pokerstars 7 now, Matthew. This is the default client now. Are we past the beta phase?
Yeah, well, we're getting close to rolling out, PS7 for everybody, and basically retiring PS6. As you know, we've been in beta for a while. Many players have gone on to PS7. There's a lot of great features, but some players have rolled back. They've gone to PS7, and a lot of people just immediately revert back to PS6. And we've been allowing players to do that. But as you know, it's very costly to try to maintain 2 different sets of software. So sometime in early 2015, we still don't have a firm date yet, but it will be it will very likely be within the first month or 2 of 2015. We will be requiring all players to move to PS7. So we're really looking for feedback. We sent out an email earlier this week to all of our Supernova Plus players and asked them to please give us any feedback of why if you went to PS7, didn't like it, and reverted back to PS6, please tell us why. So I sent that email out earlier this week, and I'm personally going to be going through the entire email box. We're close to, we've gotten a lot of good feedback already, and earlier next week, I will be going through each one of those. So if anybody has any feedback, anything really important that they want to let us know about, we're going to do our best to get all the high priority items fixed, before we make the complete move. So anybody can email VIPclub@pokerstars.com, and I will get those emails and take all those suggestions and put them in the development queue.
I can imagine some of them are going to be, I'm lucky on PokerStars 6 and I'm not lucky on PokerStars 7. Is that a valid reason to stay with 6?
Well, we found some people just revert automatically. Some people are having problems with third-party software. And this happens with all the big companies, just lots of players, lots of customers just in general are reluctant to change. But I do think if people give it a try, give it a little bit more try, the people that stick on it, they really like it. There's a lot of great features on it that are not in PS6. Some people worry about the tab functionality. You can get tab functionality in PS7. So there's a lot of things there. I think players will be really happy once they make the switch and just spend a little time to get used to it.
Fair enough. Thank you, Matthew. I hope somebody hits that $1 million spin and go. I hope it's me, actually, that hits that $1 million spin and go. I'm sure I'll be in there mixing them up over the Christmas holidays. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
That'd be a story next week if you hit one and we get to talk about it.
That would be fun. I don't know if I'd do a show.
Would there be a show? Yeah, I mean, I think it would be the 2+2 Pokercast with Terrence.
You want to cross-book our $1 million singo action?
That's it. Yeah, exactly. All right. So thanks so much, Matthew.
Okay, thank you.
All right, T, let's get to some listener emails. Today, this fuel
Love
pump,
the mailbag.
Me running my fuel low, it really has people fired up. It seems to have touched a nerve on people. I've got lots of people tweet at me, tell me that I'm an idiot. No, not an idiot, but that
you're worse than Hitler.
I just dismiss it like it's, mechanic speak for I want to charge you more money. But here, this is the email we got from a guy named Grant today. Hello, recently started listening to the show at the beginning of the year and haven't missed an episode yet. One recurring topic that keeps coming up that drives me crazy is running the car low on gas to save time. I'll give you the same spiel I give my wife, who time and time again lets the fuel get low enough that the gas light comes on. Running low on gas is a recipe to having to replace the fuel pump sooner. Since many cars have the fuel pump in the gas tank, this is not cheap. I've heard two reasons behind for the additional strain on the fuel pump. The fuel pump is designed to be cooled by the fuel. No gas equals no cooling, more heat, less run time until failure. Number two, all the garbage in the gas tank settles in the bottom. When you run low on gas, all that crap gets stirred up and clogs the fuel filter, putting more strain on the fuel pump. Well, first of all, how much crap gets in your gas tank? I open my gas tank. I put the thing in. I'm not done putting my garbage in there. I think it's probably non-corrosive in there. I don't know how there's a ton of stuff under there.
So I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't know the first fucking thing about mechanics. So I'm just gonna take what most people tell me at their word. But I sort of feel like, given the preponderance, I almost kind of feel like you should be willing to admit defeat on this one, because everybody. I haven't encountered a single person either on the forums or emailing you, and it is a thread that won't die. Partly because people won't stop bringing it up, but it's also partly because you're being stubborn.
I am,
and you're not seeing. And I'm one of these guys who also runs a fuel tank down to zero. Don't get me wrong. I'm one of these guys, but I'm starting to believe that there's enough people telling me that this is the case, that there is a legitimate concern about it, that maybe they're right about it. Because I don't know any better than that. There's a lot of people telling me.
The fuel pump is designed. This is his first one. So the second one, I don't buy all this garbage in my fuel. There's no garbage in my fuel tank. The first one is the fuel pump is designed to be cooled by the fuel. No gas equals no cooling. I've had this is a sample size of like 8. I've had 8 cars that I've done this constantly with. I've never once had to replace my fuel pump. Or my fuel pump. I've never once had to do that. Huge sample size, I know, but I mean, I've never seen it. I don't know that has anybody out there. Let me know if you've had to replace your fuel pump because.
This is why this topic won't die, because we keep bringing it up.
I know, but it bothers me that there's brainwashed people out there are all saying that this is true. I ain't buying it.
Conspiracy people.
It is.
The fuel pump mafia is out there telling you.
I'll tell you why it fires me up too. Because my wife constantly and I have this discussion, and I tell her, "Look, this is the way I roll. I am going to run my tank down to empty as often as I can. I'm going to fill. I want to maximize the time that I stop at a gas station to fill up. I don't want to do it more than I have to do it. So I've been arguing with her for it for a long time.
Do you think it's possible all these listener emails and forum posters are actually just her?
Yeah, it's right. It's all her dupe accounts.
I think next week on the Pokercast, our special guest will be Adam's mechanic.
It would be. That's right. Yeah, or my wife, one of the two. We also got an email from James Gia, and he writes in, and he's got an issue with Pokerstars, and this is the way they run their progressive knockout tournaments. For anybody who doesn't know, the progressive knockout tournaments are a tournament where if it's 109 buy-in, if you knock somebody out, half of the money goes for knockout. Half the money goes into Ross. You've played these things. Half goes into your.
You
account?
get half when you knock someone out. Half. it's a quarter. A quarter of it goes into your account, and a quarter goes on your head.
So 25. Okay, so $50 of the prize pool goes into the 50 of the buy-in. The person you knocked out is into the prize pool, 25 into your account, 25 on your head.
Yeah.
So as you go deeper in a tournament, your bounty on your head gets progressively bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
You're knocking out people, not just people. You're not just knocking out people, you're knocking out people who have accumulated bounties themselves. So it's a lot like the way when you bust someone out late in the tournament, you pick up more chips, you also pick up more bounties in this thing. So it's a big bounty instead of being a flat rate bounty.
So James's issue is that when you get down to the final table and you start talking about deals on Pokerstars, you can deal for the prize pool, but you cannot deal for the bounties that are remaining. And at first glance, that kind of made sense. And why wouldn't they allow that? Maybe it's a different calculation that everybody's got to learn or whatever. But you were thinking that there is a certain instance that would cause this big issue.
Yeah, there's a few like pathological cases. You could be down three-handed in a tournament where one guy has all of the chips, but one of the smaller stacks has like all of the bounties, and now it's difficult. You don't have like a clean calculation to sort of figure out who deserves how much. And from PokerStars' point of view, I imagine what they don't want to do is for their support staff to try to figure out what's valuable, which is why typically they kind of provide an ICM calculation, and then they let the players go, okay, well here's the ICM numbers, and you guys talk from there. But it would be a lot more complicated. I'm not saying they couldn't do it. They absolutely could do it, and if they can figure out a way, I can definitely see the argument that they should do it. But if it's a way that I guess there's two questions. The first question is, should PokerStars assist in doing these deals the way that they do with a regular tournament like the Sunday Million, where you're just dealing with these large cash prizes and sums, where you say like, okay, this guy's going to get 500,000 according to this method and 300,000 according to this method, or whether if it's just players agreeing. For example, if you and me and Ross are three-handed in this bounty tournament, I say like, hey, well, Ross is the short stack, but he's got all the bounties, so he deserves X, and I deserve Y, and Adam deserves Z. Then PokerStars, PokerStars Joe, can you make this happen for us? I think they should do this deal. I don't think they should be in the situation of trying to figure out what a fair deal is. In fact, I've always thought that's a really bad idea. So I definitely see where James, our writer, comes in on this. I also kind of see why PokerStars is really hesitant to do this, probably because they don't have an easy software mechanism built into that. But they could potentially build in these software things. I mean, I'm sure they've got lots of really cool back-end deals, back-end software to deal with the deal making.
Yeah, I think probably one of their concerns, and maybe correct me if you think I'm wrong, but PokerStars is sitting back thinking, well, this could, less sophisticated players could be taken advantage of during this deal, not understanding how they work.
That's true too. Yeah, I didn't really think of that angle, and it does happen, especially in a smaller field that a really weaker player could get through and get deep all the way. I could definitely see that they don't really understand what's going on. I suspect that kind of player probably wouldn't even enter progressive KO to a tournament to begin with. I mean, it's possible. I also don't know, and maybe Ross can shed some light on this. Like, do you know how much bounty is on each person? Like, is that displayed?
Yeah, it's displayed right over your player, and it's also it changes the way the game plays a lot because, like, say a person with a huge bounty gets in a huge flip and loses, and they have like no chips.
Right.
Now everybody's battling to try and get that guy's bounty, and they're calling off with super marginal hands because like the EV is like so high. You win like way more than one buy-in of the tournament by knocking that guy out.
And I love stuff like that because I think anything that sort of shakes up the status quo and makes people think in a different way. Because like you say, like if a short stack has a huge bounty on them, everybody's going to try to bust that guy when they move all in. Then there will be isolation reshoves because everybody wants to get a piece of that and they're incentivized to do that. I love that kind of stuff, and I think that's part of the game. And if we're going to argue that against PokerStars enforcing deals, it's sort of to encourage stuff like this. because once the deal has been settled, then it doesn't matter. Then you're just playing for some fixed amount, and it becomes kind of regular no limit hold'em tournament poker again. Whereas one of the interesting wrinkles about a progressive knockout tournament is these situations like that. And so I kind of see both sides on this, and the thread that the guy linked us to, and we'll put this up, in the show notes as well, so that other people can see what James is talking about in his email. But there's a poll on there right now: should players be allowed to chop the bounties in this? And right now, it's 18-17 in favor of the yes. So clearly, like the people who actually are playing in these tournaments are pretty divided among it themselves.
Yeah, and you would want a bigger majority. You would think that. For that to go through, although I don't know how scientific the 2+2 polls are.
No, I understand, and it's not, and I may have been presumptuous in saying that these are people who are actually playing it, because it might just be people who like clicking buttons.
Yeah, exactly.
But
we did get an email from Nathaniel Parenti who suggests we should do a segment on local poker clubs and maybe highlight the accomplishments of some of these lesser-known players. The only problem with that, of course, if they're lesser known, we don't know where they came from. So we're going to have issues with that. But keep the emails coming in, or appreciate them. We always like to have things to talk about on the show. Each week we've been getting a few, but we'd like to get some more. So send your email questions
Local
in.
poker club is in the fancy apartment building downtown where all the high-stakes players live.
That's right. But send your emails into pokercast@2plus2.com. And we will likely read it on the air. Favorite things this week, Terrence. What have you got for your favorite thing this week?
So this is maybe makes me a horrible person, but did you see the CNN Ask a Cop hashtag on Twitter?
I did not.
Okay, so CNN, the American news channel. It's
pretty bad timing for that type of thing.
Yeah, the CNN news panel decided, hey, let's do a show where we spread the Twitter hashtag Ask a Cop, and you can ask a cop some questions about anything. And of course, with all that's been going on in the U.S., this ended up going absolutely terribly. So you get hashtag, so you can search right now hashtag ask a cop, and one is, why are so many people committing suicide with their arms cuffed behind their back after apprehension? Which is of course a reference to the fact that three black men were basically the police claimed they committed suicide despite the fact they were handcuffed, despite the obvious logistical difficulties of committing suicide when you're handcuffed. Another guy goes, ask a cop, do you automatically get one of these when you become a cop? And it's a printout, it's a picture of the Monopoly get out of jail free card. I thought that was good.
Nice.
And so all that kind of stuff, that's pretty brutal. But just the incredible, who thinks of this shit?
Yeah.
When you're a CNN producer, we're like, oh yeah, let's go to Twitter and ask the world for questions that we should ask these cops that are sitting on this panel in front of us. What did you think was going to happen?
They underestimate people.
Ross, you had a favorite thing?
Okay, this show, the Eric Andre show, it's come back for season 3, and this is definitely my favorite thing this week. I started watching it the other night, and okay, it's kind of a hard show to explain. Have you guys ever heard of Tim and Eric?
No.
The comedians? Okay, it's a super specific, weird brand of humor that only caters to certain people like me. It's so funny to me. The Eric Andre show is Eric Andre and Hannibal Buress, who are two of my favorite stand-up comedians, and they are basically, this show is if you took your standard late night talk show like Fallon or Conan, and you smoked crystal meth. It would become this show, the Eric Andre show. It's so ridiculous. Their first season was filmed on a handy cam, and it was super bad quality, and they said that they had all these high profile guests like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Russell Brand, and it would just literally be hobos that they pulled off the street. And but now they're actually getting these high profile guests because they're getting famous. Just, I don't know, try it out on YouTube.
Check it out.
I think, it's
You'll
so
either
funny.
love it or hate it kind of thing?
Kind of, yeah. It's so funny to me.
I don't have a favorite thing this week, but I will find one for the next show. Speaking of the next show, we are taking next week off, but we talked about last week, Terrence, having some some listener submissions.
We got some.
For the 2+2 Pokercast, audio submissions, stories, poker stuff, anything gambling related. Ryan LaPlante, tournament poker player, has sent in
and all around great guy, by the way, Ryan LaPlante.
Yeah, fantastic, and he's actually was on the Thinking Poker podcast. If you want to hear more from Ryan, go check that out. But he has sent in a audio blog of his first trip to a World Poker Tour event. He played in the 5 Diamond in Las Vegas this weekend. It's about 50 minutes long, though, and he talks about the people at his table, the hands, what he's thinking. It's really an interesting blog. It's a bit long, so I don't want to just put it in this week's show. Otherwise, it would be really long. So we are taking next week off for Christmas. What I thought, Terrence, was we could build a show for our week off that included this. And if anybody else out there had some contribution that they wanted to make to be put in the Pokercast this week, record it, send it to pokercast@2plus2.com, and we'll listen to it. And if it's good, we'll put it in.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. I always love the user-generated content, and we can amass the legion of creativity that is out there. And just in time for the Christmas season, you can share your gift with the poker world. Put it in a box, wrap it up, put a bow on it, and put it under the tree for your fellow listeners.
I did forget, in case you missed it, one thing, and that is the Pokercast.
In case you missed it.
Yeah, yes. In case you missed it, the Pokercast this week was on the It's Hot list on iTunes.
Yes. How did you miss the most important thing?
That's right. It was supposed to be number one, the first thing we would brag about. We've been doing this for a long time. I don't think we've ever been on the What's Hot list.
We've never been hot before I was here, apparently.
Clearly, it's Ross and Terrence influence.
So we're
more Terrence, but
we're number 2 in other games, and we are hot.
We are hot.
Yeah. You know what? You know what's first in other games?
I don't want to know.
Oh, you take a guess. What would be another game that would be ahead of us?
No, I have no idea.
D&D.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
There's a D&D podcast?
Yeah, and it's
they blow us away. We need to go to war with that D&D podcast so we can take them over. We need to figure out do you know what the podcast is called?
I don't know.
We could challenge them for the number one spot.
Yeah, we gotta have like a rumble outside or something. Like we can fight these guys, right?
Yeah, poker players versus D&D, like epic. Yeah. Well, we have Terrence on our side.
Battle.
I want to bring a trident to the gang fight. Terrence, you bring a long chain, and we'll do it Anchorman style.
I love lamps.
Yes, it'll be a lot of fun. All right, we'll investigate into exactly who that is. We do have to get the invitational out this week. This is the Pokerstars Invitational for Pokercast listeners. It is in the private tab of the tournament's lobby at Pokerstars. Each week we give a format and a password.
Not last week.
Lastly, you did. Yeah, we totally forgot. We left, and I'm on my way home, and Ross is like, you forgot the invitational. I'm like, oh.
No, you sent it to me. I edited it in at it was probably 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that was a late one.
Hey, guys, sorry.
We did forget it last week, but we're gonna do it this week. Let's do December is the password. No capital DECEMBER. It is the December festival at PokerStars going on right now. I don't think we did talk with Matthew. The million hasn't been hit yet. Hopefully it does. But December is the password. Terrence, we need a format.
It'll be spin and go, progressive super knockout with incorrect all-in equities.
That'll be the password?
Yeah.
Let's spell that out.
I do like the idea of doing a progressive knockout for this one. You could just make it a generic 9-handed no limit hold'em one. But I think given our last listener email, people can play around with it and see what kind of strategy variations they come up with. If somebody gets a big bounty stack, I think people would enjoy that.
All right, progressive.
I'll try and stream it too.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Check in. We'll put the link.
Don't forget the terms of service there, Ross.
Yeah. Keep your clothes on. We'll put the link to the stream, the 2+2 stream that Ross will be streaming. Or he'll try to stream the Pokercast Invitational. We'll post the link in the thread to the 2+2 channel on Twitch, so check that out for sure. Happy holidays to everybody, to all your listeners. Thanks to Scott Ball, who came by to talk to us about Twitch. Thank you to Matthew Hilger, once again from the Isle of Man. Thank you, Terrence, from Hong Kong. Thank you to Robin, your girlfriend, for stepping in for Mrs. Gutierrez, the voice of somebody who's passed away. That was nice of her. Thank you to Ross for producing as usual. And happy holidays to everybody. Thank you for listening to the show, and happy holidays to everybody out there. We will talk to you again. We will put up a show next week, but we'll do another Pokercast in its usual form in 2 weeks' time. Happy holidays.
See you next year.
Thanks for joining us. The 2+2 Pokercast has been presented to you by the PokerStars.